This news update is brought to you by...
So, I'm meeting Rico later. Gotta check in with the girls, but first, let me check my usage on the MyLime app. Now, what should I wear? Hashtag sexy. He's here.
Welcome to the Barbados Today Evening Update for Wednesday, May 6th. So glad you can join us. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. We begin with news that transport board bus services were slowly getting back on track as commuters continue to rely heavily on public service vehicles and other means of transport. This despite drivers going back to their normal schedules around 1 o'clock this afternoon after staging a 6-hour work stoppage that left hundreds, including students, stranded at bus depots across the island. Although present outside the Weymouth headquarters, the drivers did not report for work at 5 a.m. over the employment of a female clerical officer at the board and other outstanding issues. The employees were peeved that the lady, who has since been removed from the post, was given preference over retrenched workers. Around 10 a.m., the top brass of the workers' bargaining agent, the Barbados Workers Union, met with the board's general manager, Sandra Ford, over the matter.
We met with the management. We have to go back and meet with the management, but we thought that we should come out and let you know that the union did not insist that any person had to leave, but the management, recognizing the error in their ways, made a decision to retract the contract that they had offered, albeit on a temporary basis, or perhaps in the first instance, to a young lady who was filling a clerical position. And we have been assured that where we have the perception that there are operators who are being brought in outside of the process, that we have agreed that this is not so, that rather they're just taking applications for these persons and that they would only be entertained once they have exhausted a list of those who had been retrenched.
That was BWU's General Secretary, Tony Moore. As we mentioned earlier, hundreds of commuters were impacted across the island. Sharika Denny, a mother of a 2-month-old baby girl, was visibly upset by the inconvenience.
I see every single morning, no 12 and 1 p.m. And then no bus to country, because I won't tell me. Oh, what do you do? You're going over here? Did you sleep in? But bitch, get me to conflict off Fiji. You know.
The police have confirmed that 18 people, including children, were injured today in an accident on a Maxwell Main Road, Christchurch. The accident occurred around 10 minutes to 8 when a route taxi and a minibus collided. 6 people, which also included the children, as we mentioned, were seriously injured and taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital for treatment after complaining of pains to the neck, chest, and other parts of their upper body. The other 12 were taken to polyclinics for medical attention by a transport board bus. The route taxi was driven by William Gamble of Sayers Court, Silver Sands, Christchurch, and O'Neill Morris of Welchman Hall, St. Thomas was behind the wheel of the minibus. In other news, Independent Senator Sir Henry Fraser wants an additional clause in the proposed amendment to the Health Services Act to deal with daycare centers for the elderly, contributing today to the debate in the Senate on the proposed changes to the Act to enable government control over standards of services offered by private organizations that provide rehabilitative care for drug addicts. Fraser was adamant that consideration must also be given to care for the elderly.
The daycare centres for the elderly have an enormous role to play in our society today. As I've said so often before, the daycare centre for St. Barnabas is an absolute model, because here is a situation where the church community and the church figures organise a daycare centre for the caring of an average of 30-something elderly people who could not manage on their own at home. But most older people love their home and wish to remain there. And there are many people in Barbados who have had to give up their work in order to look after a frail, ill, or disabled elderly person. With a daycare center for the elderly, the son, daughter, neighbor, or friend can take that person to the daycare center on their way to work in the morning, and 8 to 10 hours later at the end of the day, take them back home. In that daycare setting, several things happen. The individual is catered for, fed, sometimes groomed, and maybe have a bath. And then all that is necessary for that person to maintain their lifestyle at home is to be able to be taken home in the evening, a bedtime snack, a commode by the bed. They can live alone, or they can live with a relative who doesn't have to look after them during the day.
Police today destroyed a quantity of illegal drugs. The illegal substances included 93 kilograms of cocaine, 5,173.43 pounds of cannabis, and 15,675 cannabis plants. The drugs were from cases that were adjudicated, some which were found, and cannabis plants which were seized and were destroyed by fire. A 28-year-old man who was missing for 3 days now is back home safe. Lawmen say Pierre Dexter Atwell of 2nd Avenue, Newberry, St. George, who left home on Sunday, has been traced.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
We pick up with news from the region where Jamaican police are on the hunt for the culprits suspected of kidnapping a 6-year-old girl in Kingston. The lawmen are also seeking the public's help in locating the child who was reportedly taken from her father by unknown assailants around 1:30 this afternoon. The two were walking along the road when two men, one armed with a knife, attacked them. The perpetrators allegedly took the child in a motor car which was parked on the roadway with 3 persons on board, including a female. And finally, on the international scene, Britain's election campaign drew to a close this evening, with party leaders making late bids to break the deadlock in the polls. Pollsters suggest no party, which includes the Conservative Party, the Labour Party, and the Liberal Democrats, will win enough seats for an outright majority in tomorrow's election. And that's our evening update, but we'll be back again tomorrow morning. Until then, remember to log on to www.barbadostoday.pb, subscribe to our e-paper, our email updates, and like us on Facebook. You can also catch us on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. We're also on Channel 101 on Lime TV and a Mix 96.9 FM. There you can get all the latest news and sports. I'm Fernella Wedderburn. Have a great evening.
This news update is brought to you by...
So, I'm meeting Rico later. Gotta check in with the girls, but first, let me check my usage on the MyLime app. Now, what should I wear? Hashtag sexy. He's here.